Hey, what's up guys? Welcome back to Drums and Drams. My name's Cameron, and listen, I know it's been a while since I posted anything here on the channel, and that's exactly why I'm making today's video. So this is not gonna be the typical whiskey review or blind tasting. This is gonna be like an update video, kind of stream of consciousness style, and I'm gonna do my best to keep it completely unedited because I don't really wanna have to comb through and splice this thing together. So if you do happen to see an edit happen at some point, then something egregious must have happened. But otherwise, if I get a little bit wordy, I do apologize. If this is not your cup of tea, this kind of video, then, you know, tune out for this one and check back in on the next review that I post. But basically, we're about 2 months into 2025 at this point, and because the channel's output has been spotty or you know, hit or miss at best, I figured it's probably a good time to check in with you guys and just kind of share some thoughts in the first half of this video. And then in the second half of the video, I actually want to talk about the reviews themselves and a change that I'm going to be making from now until the end of 2025, which, you know, not a big commitment guy here, but I'm going to do my best with this one. A change that I'm going to make from now till the end of the year that hopefully legitimizes the channel a little bit more. And also, I think it's going to be kind of a learning experience for me for sure. And we'll talk about it when we get there. So anyways, at the beginning of this video, the first thing that I want to say is so cheesy, but it is just the biggest thank you to all of you for supporting the channel. Whether you're, you know, liking, commenting, subscribing, like all the YouTube stuff and watching the videos, that's great. And I appreciate all of that. But I really, like, I owe the biggest debt of gratitude to the people in this community that are tuning into the live streams, that are members of the Patreon. And I know financially committing to supporting creators is, you know, that's your money out of your pocket. And I don't take any of that for granted, but I owe you guys so much because, as you can see on the table, like, I decided to pull out some of the barrel picks that we've done this year. We're on track to do basically 37 barrel picks within the first 12 months of barrel picks existing with Drums and Drams. And that's not possible without you guys. And it's not just about the barrel picks, right? But the barrel picks have been a really big driving factor of the channel growing and the Patreon growing and this community that we have in the Patreon, in the Discord, just really coming alive. And so I know that people saying thank you, it can be a little bit annoying if they're just constantly hitting you over the head with it. So if I'm doing that right now, I do apologize. But listen, this has totally changed my life. Like, whiskey is now definitely a job for me in the best way possible, but it's not my full-time job. Like, I'm not a full-time content creator. I have a job in the Columbus Symphony Orchestra here in town, and I'm a musician first and foremost, and I always want to keep that at the forefront of my mind. I don't ever want to lose that part of my identity. That's why the channel's called Drums and Drams. But at the same time, like, this thing, whatever this is, the videos, which are sparse right now, I know, or the barrel picks and traveling to do those and meeting people and going to events and meeting distillers and going to distilleries, like, all of that is now taking more time out of my day-to-day life than my full-time job with the orchestra is, and it's a really crazy thing. Now, with that said, am I kind of making an excuse for myself? A little bit, right? Like, because this isn't my full-time job, there are ebbs and flows with things, and if you've been a part of this channel, you know, part of this journey over the last 6 months, 4 years, it's never really changed. Like, there are the up moments and then there are the down moments, and there seem to be a lot of those downturns. And so all that to say, I'm doing my best to hopefully be more consistent with content, and I'm starting to ask for help, and it sounds like I'm going to be receiving some help from some people that might be able to help on the content side when it comes to editing videos and things like that. And so all I'm saying is stay tuned. I'm really dedicated and focused and determined to make this channel and this community and the barrel picks and everything the best thing that I possibly can. And if that doesn't show through always in the videos, you know, in the frequency of the videos and stuff like that, just know that it eats at me, and I'm working on it. And yeah, this is like my baby, and it's now it's a community, and it's all of our baby in a way. You know what I mean? Like, all the people that are putting their energy into this and their time. I want this thing to grow together. And so that's all I need to say at the beginning of this video is, like, none of this would be possible without you guys. And it is, like, not only from a whiskey standpoint and a fun standpoint and a people standpoint changing my life, but on a personal note, it's changed Sarah and I's lives together because it's enabling us to, you know, hopefully get out of this shack that we're in right now and get a nice house and start a family. So thank you guys. Now let's move on now to kind of the second half of the video and what I want to talk about with the reviews. And this is, I mean, I don't know, it feels like a big deal to me, and maybe it's not a big deal to those of you watching, so let me know what you think. But I'm gonna start scoring whiskeys. And the reason this is a big deal to me is because I've tried this before in the past, and I immediately fall away from it because I'm kind of non-committal when it comes to this stuff. Like, whiskeys are always different in different contexts, blind versus unblind, and contextualizing them versus having no context for them. Also sequencing within blinds. I mean, there are so many factors that go into this. And there's no easy way to convey that within a score. The score is this cut and dry thing that someone looks at, and they either, number one, judge the whiskey based on the score that you gave it, or number two, they judge you, the person that gave that score, because they vehemently disagree with you about the whiskey deserving that score. And then all those other in-between factors just kind of get lost in translation because it's just a number on a screen or on a page. That's my hang up with scores. However, as I get more into this, and as I'm appealing to maybe different audiences, like I've always said, listen, just watch the videos, like listen to what I say. And if you're not in it for that, then you're not really kind of in it for the channel. You know, if you don't want to watch the videos, you just want my score. I've had that thought up to this point, but now I'm kind of in the frame of mind like, you know what? I can do the video and I can dissect the whiskey for 8.5 minutes, but then also I can give the score at the end too, with the caveat being that that score may or may not change. And so what I'm thinking of doing is this. Every whiskey I taste from now to the end of 2025, which up to this point, I have not released a review on any 2025 released whiskey that would go into like an end of the year conversation for whiskey of the year or rye of the year, whatever the categories that I end up doing will be. I haven't tasted any yet, so it's not like I've missed any scores up to this point. And so I want to score everything throughout the entire year and let this scoring system be kind of the driving factor at the end of the year for me putting together my whiskey of the year list. Now, if you notice at the end of 2024, I kind of bailed on my top 10 of the year, whatever, and it's because I just didn't keep track of things. And if I'm gonna do a systematized list of whiskeys that I know I need to check in at the end of the year and blind them against each other and stuff like that, I need to have taken really good notes and also hung on to those bottles and not, gotten rid of them or traded them away or whatever. And so this year I'm committed to not only scoring these whiskeys, but also, really being diligent about the way that I take my notes and then approach them at the end of the year for my whiskey of the year list. And the goal for me, ultimately at the end of the year, is to have kind of like a batched product list and then do a single barrel list separately. And I'll have to make some criteria for how that's gonna work. Maybe I can split off ryes and bourbons. I'm not exactly sure yet. That will be more clear as I figure out how many whiskeys I taste and bottles I have to go through. But all that to say, the scoring thing is scary to me. And the way that I think that I'm gonna approach it is that when I do a video on the channel, that is an unblind score. And I always have to take into consideration the price and everything else. There's no way for me to not know the price if I'm doing it unblind. You could try to say, oh, well, I'm not gonna factor that into my score right now. You are. I think no matter what, if you know it and you know that's what you're tasting, that context exists for you and you're always gonna reference that when you're thinking about that whiskey. I think it's kind of an impossibility to say that you're gonna be completely unbiased in that way. So my scores in the videos are gonna be unblind scores. I'm gonna keep a log of these. I'm gonna probably share it with the Patreon folks. I don't know if I'll share it publicly. It might just be for Patreon. But then if I end up tasting that whiskey blind later, which I'm gonna put these into blind sample pools and just revisit them at random times, that might just be on my own time or maybe on a live stream or something like that, then I'm gonna give it a blind score. And that's gonna help me look at that whiskey from two different perspectives as I get to the end of the year and determine what's gonna be in my end of the year, end of the year kind of rankings. These scores are gonna be out of 100 for me. I'm not going to break them into nose, palate, finish, and then value and experience and complexity, like all the things that you could try to categorize these in. I think that's just a little too murky for me. It's a little too categorized. So I'm just gonna do a score out of 100. I'm gonna come up with kind of like a rubric like Matt Porter has on his videos, ADHD Whiskey, and that's the way I'm gonna be doing it. So this is just a long way to say I'm adding scores to these things, but I hope you understand and can see from me in this video that I'm putting a lot of thought into this, and you know, I will sit and go over this over and over and over, and I just need to get off my butt and make this happen. So let's do it. We're doing scores in 2025. We're keeping good notes. We're gonna do awesome end of the year lists this year. And I want to be a little bit more of like a critic, you know, in quotes, whatever that means, in the sense of doing scores, while also being still kind of like a content creator and whiskey nerd as far as my discussions in the videos themselves. So there you go. That's it. The top line of all of this is thank you and scores on whiskeys for 2025. So there you go. Thank you guys for being here. That is gonna do it. I'm gonna have a little sip here of our upcoming Still Austin pick that we're gonna be dropping here soon. Thank you, cheers, and I'll see you soon here on Drums and Drams.